Hey, howdy. So, we're starting our descent back in time to revisit the stuff that I've been wanting to revisit, to do 100% and all that kind of stuff. And it's really funny. I'm planning not to revisit Peggle Deluxe, but I've just been like playing it in my off time, and I was sitting there 100%ing levels, and I was like, wait, why don't I just keep playing Knights? That's probably a better idea. So, I think I start with the quick plays. Yeah, yes, Spring Fever will get to you eventually. So I need to ace these levels and I need to 100% them. Acing is pretty easy because, you know, Master Who. But I've learned that Master Who can screw you over pretty easily. Hang on, let me add the volume a bit higher on my end. Master Who can screw you over if you're not careful, because the way that I've blabbed about how Zen Shot works before, but I've been getting a better understanding of how it works. And I don't know if it's changed in Knights, but based on my experience, it doesn't seem like it. The way that Zen Shot works is it prioritizes a couple of things, and one of those things that it prioritizes is clearing the level. I don't know why it does that, but it does it. So if you're not careful and you leave too few orange pegs around when you trigger Zen mode, it will just end the level instantly and rob you of your 100% chance. And this has happened to me a lot of times, but Master Who is still so good that I'm fine with taking that chance. Ah. And also, I've gotten better at this game. I am still not... okay. I'm still not godlike at this game. So if I mess up a lot, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. I think I just got both ace and 100% at the same time, though. Excellent. Also, I don't know why it's like this, but in Peggle Deluxe, when you clear a level, just like in the screen where you either win or lose in a level, the options are to replay the current level or to play a random level. I don't know why it's like that, but it was fixed here. You had to literally go out to the title screen and then go back into the level select, and it saves your progress at least, so you don't have to click through the menus, you can just go right back in with a different level, but I don't know why they made it like that. Just put an option in the level select that lets you pick a random one. Every time I see maximum Zen, it scares me, because a lot of the time, when it says maximum Zen, that means that it got Ultra Extreme Fever. Like, yeah, look at how good I'm doing. I beat the level for you, aren't you proud? Like, yeah, that's great, Master Who. Whoa. I gotta say, this game has grown on me quite a bit. Because, I mean, look, it's not like I didn't like Peggle before. It's freaking Peggle. It's hard to actively dislike this game. The worst you can be is like, yeah, it's alright. But as I played, I've grown more and more like, yeah, this is an awesome game. I don't mind spending time playing. Uh-oh. Little bit scary. Yeah, thought so. I didn't even get the A's. I think another stipulation is, in order to get the ace, you have to beat the level. Which makes this a bit more interesting. Where I can't just get aces by fuffing about. If I'm at a point where I might get the ace score, I have to commit to it. Or potentially lose it. But Zenshot just finds really wacky ways to improve your score. Only the wackiest. Wow. I've just been on a roll and then I made a shot like that, huh? The slides seem way better in this one. Just in general, Knights just seems like the definitive edition is just more polished. There's more creature comforts, there's more things that I think of when I think of the positives of Peggle. But enough blabbing about that. I'm trying to think of a random thing to talk about. Oh, come on. Oh yeah. I think I'm going to have to completely I'm gonna have to completely redo all my efforts with trying to grab the music for Peggle Deluxe and Knights. Because I was just I think I basically just have to mix it myself. Because there are the cool, like, zingers the like, dynamic music zingers that come in sometimes when you get a good shot or just, like, when random things happen. But they don't come in manually. If I just use the track, it's gonna sound very plain, and it's also gonna completely miss a lot of the dynamic stuff. Oh no. That's what I'm talking about. The game will just be like, hey, you wanted to clear the level, right? No. As it happens, I didn't want to clear the level. It might be better to go with someone with, like, Warren or something, but I like I like Zen. It also seems, I think they actually buffed Zenshot between Knights and Deluxe, because I think the max was originally 400% and they bumped it up to 500% when it comes to improvement. Because it seems like there is a cap on how much better it makes your shot. Because, I mean, it makes sense, because it'd be kind of stupid if you had an ability that just could instantly clear the level for you when you have 8 orange pegs on screen, but it makes sense why they nerfed it internally. It's still really strong. If a bit unreliable. Oh, come on. Okay. I've reached kind of a fun point in my theory of computer science class, though, that might prompt me to make another video like the Super Fighters video, where we are finally getting to Turing machines and also to stuff like computability and why Turing machines are so good, what things are even better than Turing machines theoretically. Stuff like that has me very excited and very interested in doing stuff with, like, coding and algorithms and maybe trying to make a computer in another game again. I was thinking of trying to make Conway's Game of Life in, like, Little Big Planet or something. Like, surely There's a lot of games that where that could work, but I want to pick a language that has wiring systems and also doesn't have, what am I thinking of? Oh, this is bad. This is really bad. Send it over here. Don't you dare clear the level. You can kind of like cut it off from the rest of the level so that it doesn't clear it for you. But I want something that has a wiring system that's doesn't rely on where things are placed. So things with incorporeal wires, and a game that is, well, Turing complete, which I think almost anything that has a wiring system is Turing complete. Like, I'm almost certain that Terraria is. Now, how I'd make Conway's Game of Life is a completely different beast, but again, if it's Turing complete, then Conway's Game of Life is possible. It just... or at least Turing Machine is possible. I just need to find out how to do it. But while I'm talking about it, I may as well enlighten people, because I don't think I ever actually said what a Turing Machine was in the Super Fighters video. So, Turing machines were created, or were a concept that was first thought up by Alan Turing. British, I guess he either mathematician or engineer. It's hard to say where computer science lies. I think he's technically a mathematician. And it turned the entire engineering world on its head. And still continues to do so. Because normally, the way that mechanisms usually work that do more complex behavior is you have an input string, and this input string is read by the program bit by bit, and it goes from one state to another based on what it sees. So you might have a state 1 that, if it sees a 1, then it just loops back into itself, and if it sees a 0, it goes to the next stage, and then it continues in that fashion, doing different things, going to states that have nothing else connected to them, indicating that the string is not accepted by the system. And there are very few stipulations with the first set, or with the first type of mechanism like this. There has to be one start state, and there has to be one end state that if the string is read through and it ends up in that end state, then you can say with clarity that whatever it is that you just fed in is accepted by that mechanism. Now, that's all well and good. I feel like I lose here, because it's just gonna... Oh! Ah! That's all well and good. That's known as a DFA. A definitive... It's a definite finite automata, I believe, is what it boils down to. Definite because it can only be in one state at once, and... yeah. The next step up from that is the NFA. The non-determinate finite automata. Non-deterministic, rather, not non-determinate. So, NFAs are slightly different than DFAs, because NFAs can be in multiple states at once, and they no longer have the stipulation of every state must have, or every input string character must be considered at each state. So you could have something that only moves forward if it sees a 1. And if it ends up in a situation where Like, suppose that the state goes forward if there's a 1 or a 0. If there's a 1 but not a 0 and it reads a 0, it just locks up, and that's considered rejecting it. Now, what to do from here? Well, that's already a very powerful system. There's a lot of strings that can be read like that, but it comes at a cost. That some strings just can't be read that way. That's gonna miss, yeah. Some strings can't be read that can't, some languages cannot be read like that. The example that always gets tossed around is, suppose that you have a language of just binary characters. You have 1s and you have 0s. Using a finite number of states, is there a way to accept all strings in the form of 1 to the n, 0 to the n? So it accepts nothing, it accepts the empty string of just there's nothing there. It accepts 1 0, 1 1 0 0, 1 1 1 0 0 0, etc. Is there a way to do that with either a DFA or an NFA? The answer is actually no. Now, in theory, you'd think that it would work because it's just a number of 1s followed by a number of 0s. There's ways you can conceptualize that. The trouble is that the number of 1s and 0s have to be the same, and this is what kills it. The allegory I always think of is the allegory of a railroad. So what you have to consider is that in order to, like, let's just say you want to read something that has exactly 3 1s and exactly 3 0s. You are essentially going to have to make a set of 2 paths. One that counts up the number of 1s and one that counts up the number of 0s. And conceptualizing it, if there's a 1, you go up to a 1 path. If there's a 0, you go down to another path. And there's a path in the middle that is accepting. So once everything's been read, if you end up in the center, there are an equal number of 1s and 0s, and you accept. But no matter how you construct it, there's always an upper limit to how many numbers you can read like that. You can read up to 4 rungs on that ladder, or up to 3 rungs on that ladder, and then it will just stop functioning correctly. Because even if you make it so that after you read more than 3 0s or more than 3 1s, it just loops there, or maybe it goes back to the center point, well, either way, it no longer functions correctly. If it just sticks there at that point, it accepts anything that has more than 3 0s. And it accepts anything that has either an equal number of 1s and 0s or something that has 3 or more 1s and 3 or more 0s. But in that case, the number of 0s and 1s can be different if both of them are greater than or equal to 3. And there we have our problem. Because no matter, like I said, it's a finite algorithm. Oops. It's a finite algorithm. No matter how far you stretch that, you can't, it can't just stretch off infinitely. In that situation, it would technically work, and you'd have a way to make it work for infinitely many if you just had infinitely many states, but it doesn't work that way. We're not using playground rules here. It's like, I don't have infinitely many states that I can use. I only have, I can't just conjure up infinity and use it. And talking about the other case for a second, let's say that you have it return to the center. Now, in theory, that works at first. That if you have 3 and 4, then 3 and 4 will be in separate positions, and you'd end up with something that's not in the center state, and it wouldn't accept. But let's say that you have something that's divisible by 3. Let's say that you have 3 1s and 6 zeros. Well, now we're back in the exact same scenario of, oops, it now accepts anything with, it now accepts anything where, uh-oh. Yeah, damn it. Let's swap levels. It accepts anything where, if we consider the two exponents to be a and b, if a mod 3 and b mod 3 are the same value, then we accept. If both a and b, when divided by 3, give the same number, then both of them are going to end up in the same state, and you'll end up in that middle point that accepts. So all this is to say, the system is flawed. It still works for a lot of things, but there's some things that it just doesn't work for. So where to go from here? Well, there's a myriad of other places we can go. First I want to consider is a context-free language. This is a fun thing to do just on your own. Is you just have things like A, B, and C, and you have some starting state S, and then S becomes A, and then A becomes like BBA, and then like C becomes, or no, BBC, let's say, and C becomes a D, and then D can either become a set of numbers or it can terminate, and through all of that, you can figure out the whole family of strings that it can generate, and that is a context-free language. And it works very similarly to the DFAs and the NFAs. I just want to point out I've been struggling in this for like 10 minutes, and then I do this one and get it immediately. Let me check something, actually. Does OBS play nice with the custom cursor? It looks like it does. Okay. Oh, no. Damn it. I was hoping it would. That artifacting would become a problem very quickly. Oh. That was very nice. But where to go from here? Context-free languages are nice and all, but there are also some things that context-free languages don't work with, because not everything is context-free. I'm trying to think of an example of this, because there are examples, I just don't remember them. Oh, that was another one. It was like 1 to the n, 0 to the n, 1 to the m, 0 to the m. I believe that doesn't work? I don't know, I'm figuring these out on the spot, so maybe, I don't believe that one works. I don't remember a counterexample just off the top of my head. But before I go deep into those counterexamples, something else to consider is that there is a way to write those as automata instead of languages. There is something called a push-down automata. And the thing with a push-down automata is that... Oh. Hey! The thing with a push-down automata is that it has the string, of course, and it also has a stack. And the stack you can add and subtract whatever you want from the stack, so long as you abide by the certain set of rules. Like before, it's the same sort of laws that you have to have states, and the states have to move on account of some certain input at the current character. But again, we can add in another set of fun gimmicks because of the stack. Now, the way that the way that a lot of these are organized is it starts by adding a dollar sign into the stack. And that dollar sign will remain there for basically the entire time. It's not meant to do anything per se. It's just there to signify that the stack is empty, because there's no real way to check otherwise. And now that you have that information, there's a whole mirth of things that you can do. And as it happens, everything that a PDA can do, a pushdown automata that is, anything that a PDA can do, a context-free language can also do the same thing. They're completely equivalent. And it goes further than that. Anytime you have a PDA, there's a context-free language that you can make that recognizes it, and vice versa. It's really cool. But now, we enter that final step. There are still some things that a PDA cannot really do. And to take that final step, we can go and create a Turing machine. And the thing that sets a Turing machine apart is that it can also write. Not only can it read from the string at every character, it can move back and forth either to the left or the right, and it can write new characters to the string, either replacing old characters or placing them at the very front or the very end. And this opens up a whole world of possibilities, like more than you could even imagine. At this point, this mechanism is as powerful as a computer. And in fact, most computers in the first and second generation of computing were Turing machines, and they did exactly that. They read off of a very long tape, and there are also devices that you can use that take that string, whatever it ends up becoming, and outputs its value to a printer. So, with all that knowledge in mind, if you were to have, in any medium, if you have a way to take in an arbitrary string, doesn't matter what the string is, as long as you can find a way to represent its characters, and perform operations on it, go back and forth, and potentially accept or reject whatever comes of it, you can say that that game or that engine or that whatever is as powerful as a computer. Which is just insane to think about. Also, I didn't even mention it, but I guess I really did need to sleep on it for a second because I got it first try coming back to the level. I realized I didn't actually play these levels on camera because when I played this initially, I started with whatever the Great Wave of Kamagawa level is called, with Renfield. So, oops. Those are the Bjorn levels. These are the Jimmy levels. They're pretty standard. Oh. Hey! Still a lot of work I gotta do to ace this level, but I'm making pretty good progress. Oh, that was cool. Also, something interesting to note. I said that Turing machines do everything that a computer can do. There's actually devices beyond Turing machines. There are things that are more powerful than computers, at least theoretically. Because there's actually a restriction when it comes to Turing machines. That you can only read off of one tape. And it has to be deterministic. No matter what you do, it has to follow the same path for any given string. Now, with that being said, there are variations that technically, in theory, you would hope would have better processing power. But it's futile, unfortunately. I wish they were stronger. For example, what if you had multiple tapes? It's like, yeah, that makes sense. How do you improve something whose main stipulation is you can only have one tape at a time? You add another one. Well, mathematicians have proved that even if you were to do that, it doesn't matter, and that a multi-tape Turing machine is exactly as good as a regular Turing machine, and you can take any given multi-tape and turn it into a single tape. So crap. Now what? Well, another option is non-deterministic. That again, suppose that you had a way for a Turing machine to fork off in any direction it desired, and to do things in a non-sequential order. Not in non-sequential order, what am I saying? In a non-deterministic way. You have multiple ways to go if you see a 1, you have multiple things to do. On a lark, come on. Well, unfortunately, just like how DFAs and NFAs there is a way to turn any given NFA into a DFA. There's a way to turn any given non-deterministic Turing machine into a deterministic one, and again we're stuck. There is hope, though. Unfortunately, this is also the part where I'm no longer reciting what I learned in theory of computer science, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. There are also machines called Turing oracles, which again are very much in theory and not really in practice. Oops. But assuming that one were to exist, a Turing oracle would be even more powerful than a Turing machine. And if you had one, congratulations, you have something that's even more powerful than a computer. There is one more small slash not small at all thing that needs to be considered. And that's that because a Turing machine can go both backwards and forwards, there are situations where it will never terminate. With everything else so far, there's always a point where it stops. I guess there are some context-free languages you can make that go on forever. But usually when those happen, it's said that it just is rejected by the system. And if you've made a context-free language that never terminates, congratulations, it never accepts anything. Congratulations, you have made a contrarian language that does not accept anything. But the issue, and something that's very, very damning to Turing machines, unfortunately, is the idea of decidability. There's this famous theory in computer science called the halting problem, which you've probably heard. You've probably heard of the halting problem if you just like heard about computer science passively. You probably at least heard the name halting problem before. And it's a proof that Turing machines can never truly be known whether or not a Turing machine is decidable or not. And by decidable, I mean there's no way to tell whether or not a given language will loop infinitely or not for some given input. That suppose that you have, I don't remember the setup for this, suppose that you have a machine that can check whether or not another language halts on any given input. Now, assume that it feeds itself, that you feed it into itself. Hang on, let me actually, pardon me for pausing, let me look up the actual halting problem, because I'm doing a kind of crap job of explaining. Okay. Right. So the trick to the halting problem is that in order for all programs to be decidable, all you need to do is prove that there's one program that is not decidable. And there are some sets that are not, just like by definition cannot be decided. Like for instance, if there is a program where I eventually halts when run with input 0, and there is an input x such that program I eventually halts when run with input x. So just off of that, I mean, we reached kind of a crossroads. Because the other problem to consider is that if we don't know whether or not a program is decidable, that also means we don't really know how to construct it. So there are a lot of programs that we can construct and use and make Turing machines, and Turing machines take a similar form as NFAs and DFAs. They all kind of use the same format. There are quite a few that we can create using these states and these accept states and all these mechanisms that we were talking about, but there's endlessly many more that we just can't. And that's just the way it is. As it turns out, you can't make a machine that has the sum of all human knowledge, because there are some things that just cannot be decided cleanly as a accept or deny. Kind of fits in with philosophy too. There's a lot of moral dilemmas that just by definition you can't really solve. Like I was talking about the trolley problem earlier. The trolley problem is a great example of how do you really say whether or not you've solved a problem like that? Even if you create some number system that ranks both parties and has you choose after the fact, there's still going to be a moniker of doubt no matter what you do. Even if you do something that is 9 times out of 10 considered to be right, there's still that opportunity cost. You're still losing a life in the process. Someone's still dying by your hands, etc., etc. And it's kind of a similar train of logic. That there are some programs that there's no way to 100% solve it. You can get pretty close, but I mean, that's the fun of a lot of higher math, is that so many proofs are not proofs that something is possible, but that something isn't possible. That's so upsetting. It's not that something is possible, it's that something isn't possible. Because there's no way to effectively prove that something is possible without, I mean, either some loophole, some theoretical understanding, or a shit ton of computer power. Like, for instance, group theory. People have figured out group theory is basically the mathematics of transformations. And people have found all groups, literally every single transformation that you can perform on something that has it ending up in some other state. They figured that out, which is kind of ridiculous. And it took a ridiculous amount of computing power and also just a lot of math to back it up to prove that yes, this is in fact every single group that can and will ever exist. That is the rarest of rare cases, and any mathematician that you talk to who's familiar with with the math behind it will tell you how ridiculous of an undertaking that was, and that it's crazy that it's even possible. Those things are very rare in math, to be able to just say, yeah, this is just everything that there is to do. And when it is possible, it's something that has, what, 400 something zeros? Wow, that was cool. This is a very uncomfortable spot to be in, though. Come on. Oop. Hey! Jimmy and his funny little potion. Something I have been like kicking around in the background is I kind of want to make my own Zen shot. I feel like that could be really fun. Just like Code Bullet style, make a replica of Peggle with, I mean, the closest I can get to replicating the physics, and then use either a brute force algorithm or some kind of cool loophole to make a good Zen shot. I feel like that could be really cool. The trouble, as always, is that I am not, nor have I ever been very good at making edited videos. So I'm not entirely sure what I would do there. If I would try and like charter someone else to do the editing for me, how would that work? I have ideas for things that I would like to do, but that question keeps grappling me. I'll figure out an answer eventually. How the Okay, this is going to be stupid if it works. You know what? It worked. It just didn't bounce up. I'm very happy I didn't lose my voice. I don't want to push it too far though, so that I don't like I don't end up with a self-fulfilling prophecy where I do end up losing my voice, because I got so excited from not losing my voice that I talked all night, and now suddenly I don't have a voice. Gee, I wonder why. So I don't think I'm gonna do Suits yet, but Suits will continue. Soon. Just not right now. This will be my hour-long video of the day. And then we'll work from there. Like I said, I have a memory like a steel trap. I don't forget things, especially when I have a big... I have a big search bar where I can just look up all the videos that I've made and all the series that I have yet to finish. So for the one person out there that still wants the 4 Heroes of Light, I will get back to it. Trust me. I never forget. Oh, come on. This is this was kind of a bad run because of the green peg. I would have had to save it for last. Oh, cool. There's more of a concerted effort in this game to put in as many slides as possible. And I do like that. Something else that I read recently, speaking of 4 Heroes of Light, something that was really funny was there is a game that I will be playing eventually, another PopCap game that's very silly. And apparently the same person who composed for that game also composed composed for Bravely Default. Now I don't know if that's... Oh, come on. I don't know if that's a giveaway. But I think I might have already mentioned the game before, so I'm not too worried about giving it away, but I'll keep it under moderate wraps for now. But just be aware that some dude who did Final Fantasy music also did the music for this game that is a PopCap game. And the versions of me saying that are only going to get weirder as we get closer to that game in question. Again, you'll see what I mean when we get there. Can you do the slide? Oh, got the purple though. Something else I was thinking about was, I wonder if it would be best to cordon off this channel into multiple sections for different purposes. To have a version of the channel that's just for soundtracks, a version of the channel that's just for long-form videos, and a version of the channel that's just for like content, like recurring content like this. So this would probably be the main platform for stuff like Tuki and eventually Collective Unconscious, and these running series like Peggle and Suits and Final Fantasy 4 Heroes of Light. May as well go back here. I can't avoid it forever. Then there would be a channel that's just for soundtracks, so that's where I would put all the PopCap stuff and basically whatever else I can find that I think is interesting and worth preserving. And then I would have a longer form video for the long edited stuff that I would, again, potentially either hire someone else to do it for me or actually get good at editing videos, which I'm not entirely opposed. Could be a fun hobby to learn. And eventually maybe I make it not a hobby and I make it a career. You never know. It's always hard to tell with YouTube, but it could be fun. I don't know if you could tell from me saying, oh, it could be fun with something that could potentially put bread on the table, but I value personal enjoyment when it comes to that kind of stuff above most everything else. Maybe that's a bad thing. Because with a lot of jobs, personal enjoyment also often comes at the cost of monetary gain. Like, yeah, cool, you're enjoying yourself, but you have to take up a second job just so the job that you like is actually supportive. And am I potentially cool with that? Maybe. It depends on how cool. It depends on how much I enjoy that first job, and whether or not I'm able to actually take two jobs. Because the other issue is, like, yeah, if I have to take two jobs, that's one thing. But if I have to sacrifice potential quality and work on the first job, by virtue of the time that's taken up by that second job, then maybe it's better to just find a different path altogether, right? I don't know, it's hard to say. The one thing that I know for sure is that I like programming. I just like comp sci. No matter the form it is, I like the problem solving, I like the mechanisms, I think they're cool. I like programming, not sure if I like bug fixing because, I don't know if I've actually complained about this yet. But I've grown increasingly annoyed at the comments of the Isaac mod stuff. Because there's this sort of complex that's built up by, there's a sort of complex that's inadvertently been built up of, oh, it's clearly the modder's fault when something goes wrong. The modder just didn't work hard enough. I imagine it's part of the reason why creators like the creators of Fracking Universe are so abrasive to people that ask for help, because they probably heard it all 100 times before. Oh, my mod's broken, what do I do? I'm starting to get it. Because as much as I want to help the people that say, my mod is broken, sad face, that's not enough information, dude. You need more than that. As much as I want to help you, I literally can't with that information. You gotta do better than that. You gotta work with me if you want me to make your stuff work. You gotta work with me first. And off of that revelation, I realized that I would probably be terrible in IT, because that is something that they have to grapple with on a daily basis, of people assuming that they are either gods or complete morons. Because there's also the other side of the coin of, oh, I know how to fix this. I don't have to deal with it as much because the general person downloading and playing mods in Isaac is not very literate when it comes to how the modding side works, which is why you end up with a lot of people on the other half, where I don't really take it personally. I don't really, not take it personally, what's the word for it? I don't really take offense when they just say, like, oh, it's not working, fix it, because, I mean, if you don't know how it works under the hood, it's easy to assume that it's as easy as just pressing buttons. And then it magically works. Especially with mod compatibility, oh my god. Again, a reason why the Frackin' devs probably, or the developers of Fracking Universe probably are really sick and tired of everyone's shit, is because of how many times I imagine people have said, oh, can you make it so that this mod is compatible with Fracking Universe? No. The answer will always be no, or at the very least, I'll see what I can do. If a mod manages to become compatible with another mod, it is by the good graces of the person that made the change. Because sometimes mods just do not work together, and that's just a fact. And I will try my best, but sometimes, unfortunately, the best I can say is tough beans. Because, let me give an example. Because it does sound like I'm just baseless complaining. I assure you it's based on something. I'll give an example of the curse mod. Someone asked at one point for compatibility with another mod called Reversible Curses, and I was okay with it, because it's, like, it kind of makes thematic sense, and I could just, it seems easy enough. It's just the mod is Reversible Curses, all it does is just like, oh, when you use the Rune of Dagaz, or if you use Treasure Map, or you use all these things, it removes the curse from the current floor. Not Rune of Dagaz, but things like the Treasure Map, or Book of Secrets, or stuff like that, it removes Curse of the Lost. That makes sense. The trouble is that I could not rely on the callbacks to work properly at all, because the way I had it set up was in kind of a weird jury-rigged fashion. This was before I made the shift to just using it as making an API to work with it. And my mod could not see the other person's mod. Because, surprise, surprise, it was just listed as local local lowercase word mod. That's great. Good for you. Because of the way that it works in Lua, I have to check if there's a variable named mod lowercase. Everyone names their mod lowercase, so there's no way I can make it compatible. I think I went into the comments of the mod and asked the guy if he could rename the variable on his end, but I don't think I ever got a reply. In fact, I'm not sure if that person is still on Steam, doing Steam things. Damn, this level is kicking my butt. Let me try and finish out the Jimmy section with this one, and then I'll just call it and come back to the level with a level head. Seems to have worked so far with the other stuff. So maybe I just sleep on it. And it is also sad because it makes me come off as kind of unreasonable, and I want to be reasonable. I'm sorry. I genuinely want to help people with the mod, and I want to make things that people can enjoy and not constantly be stressing of like, oh great, it doesn't work again. I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. I don't want to burden people with that, but at the same time, there's not much I can really do. And the other side of the coin is that I've kind of done it to myself, is part of the value proposition I've sort of invented for myself is that I am very open to helping people through the comments. And mainly because of Typing of Isaac. Just whenever someone had a question or had like a request like, hey, can you help me? Why is it doing this? I don't know why it's doing this. I would try and help those best I could, as fast as I could. It's just the kind of modder that I want to be. And that's cool and all, but, you know, I can't please everyone at the end of the day. Lord knows I'm trying, but I can't please everyone. I need to strike a middle ground between being super abrasive like the developers of Frackin' Universe, and being open to the point that people just walk all over me. And peg everything as being my fault when it potentially isn't. I don't know. It's a question I have to ponder. But it is now past the hour mark, so I think after my attempt at this, I'm gonna call it for the night. Or the day. I don't know. Time zones are weird. If you're seeing this in the morning or the afternoon, happy morning, happy afternoon. And if you're not happy, whatever time you are, I'm gonna cut myself off before I get too invested. But we made good headway, genuinely. Made it through all of stage 1 and a good chunk of stage 2. I still have to deal with this level. I haven't even aced this level yet. We'll get there. That's all I got for now, though. Thanks so much for watching.